I should claim the host role.
Yes,
So
Prabhu, I will do it.
oh, okay, you can do it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll start with the prayers. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Dhyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki.
Okay, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 19, verse 40. The creation of the fourth order. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Kritava Brita Sanyanya. Pritave Buri Karmane. Varanda Duste Varada. Yetad Barisi Tarpita. Translation. After this, Prithu Maharaj took his bath, which is customarily taken after the performance of a yajna, and received the benedictions and due blessings of the demigods, who were very pleased by his glorious activities. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. Yajna means Lord Vishnu, for all yajna is meant to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu. Since the demigods automatically became very pleased with the performance of sacrifice, they bestow benediction upon the executors of yajnas. When one pours water on the root of a tree, the branches, trunk, twigs, flowers, and leaves are all satisfied. Similarly, when one gives food to the stomach, all parts of the body are rejuvenated. In the same way, if one simply satisfies Lord Vishnu by the performance of yajna, one satisfies all the demigods automatically. In turn, the demigods offer their benedictions to such a devotee. A pure devotee, therefore, does not ask benedictions directly from the demigods. His only business is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, he is never in need of those things supplied by the demigods. So, a nice verse here, and as we know, taking bath is the custom after a yajna, and sometimes you receive the benedictions and blessings of the demigods if they're pleased with your service. But we have to keep in mind that we're not doing the service for them to get any benedictions or blessings from the demigods. We don't need those things, although we may get them, as mentioned here, which is interesting. In turn, the demigods offer their benedictions to such a devotee, but he doesn't ask for them. He may receive them, but he doesn't ask for them or expect them. Uh, as uh, as it said here, you know, when you pour water on the tree, on the root of a tree, everything is on the tree is satisfied by that. Whereas if you pour water just on the leaves or just on the twigs or the trunk even or the branches, not the whole tree doesn't become satisfied by that, doesn't benefit from that. So when we satisfy Krishna or Lord Vishnu by our Jagya, and our prime Jagya for this age, of course, as we know, is a Sankirtan Jagya. And so we're trying to engage in Sankirtan Jagya, including chanting of the holy names, Japa, and in Kirtan, distributing prasadam, book distribution, distributing the knowledge, giving Krishna to others is all part of the Sankirtan Jagya. And as Prabhupada said many, many times, what's the difficulty? It's a happy life, you know. We get we get benefits from our service sometimes. Like the Lord puts us in a nice situation, you know, materially speaking, because He knows our nature, so He knows that where our minds will be more peaceful in a particular situation. So He sometimes gives us that to facilitate our service, so that we can be, you know, we can have a few things that, you know, materially speaking, are basic, but, you know, necessary for our service. As long as we use those things in the Lord's service, then that's the correct way to reciprocate with the Lord. When He gives you something, you use it correctly in the Lord's service. Otherwise, when we use that for sense gratification, we're just getting entangled in the material energy again. And the Lord may take it away. You know, He might take away all that stuff to save us from becoming entangled in the material energy again. And same with the demigods, you know, they can sometimes give us some sort of benediction, or they can give us some sort of blessing. Uh, but we don't necessarily want that, or we don't ask for it at least. We never expect it. We don't certainly think of the demigods when we're doing our service. We're just thinking of Krishna. But by doing that, thinking of Krishna, we're watering the trunk of the tree, the root of the tree, rather. So we're watering the root of the tree by satisfying Krishna, and then all the demigods and all these personalities become pleased by that service. Okay, I don't think I've got anything else to say about that, unless you've got something to say.
Yeah, as you said, it's a nice verse, Prabhu. I don't have anything more to add. It's just a nice reminder to um, remember that everything should be done for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord.
Mm, yeah, that's right. Um, well, we continue with a few verses. We can make this a short session if you like. Just chant a few verses and make it short.
It's okay. We can keep going. I think we only have two more verses in this chapter.
Yep. Okay. Do you want me to keep reading?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, the next two verses don't have a purport.
Okay. So verse 41. Vipra satyasisas tushta shradhaya labha dakshina asiso yuyuju shatar adi rajaya satkrita. Translation. With great respect, the original king Prithu offered all kinds of rewards to the brahmanas present at the sacrifice. Since all these brahmanas were very much satisfied, they gave their heartfelt blessings to the king. Verse 42. Tvaya huta mahabaho sarva eva samagata pujita dhanaman manabayam pritri devarishimanava. Translation. All the great sages and brahmanas said, O mighty king, by your invitation of classes of all living entities have attended this assembly. By your invitation, all classes of living entities have attended this assembly. They have come from Prithri Loka and the heavenly planets, and great sages as well as common men have attended this meeting. Now all of them are very much satisfied by your dealings and your charity towards them. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the fourth canto, 19th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled King Pritu's 100 Horse Sacrifices. Ki Jai. So shall we read all the text through here, or do you want to wait until the next class?
We can read the translations of the next chapter.
Okay. You want to do that?
Sure, Prabhu.
Maybe
Chapter
go
20.
half.
Chapter 20. Lord Vishnu's appearance in the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Prithu. Text 1. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, being very much satisfied by the performance of 99 horse sacrifices, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, appeared on the scene. Accompanying him was King Indra. Lord Vishnu then began to speak. Text 2. Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said, My dear King Prithu, Indra, the King of Heaven, has disturbed your execution of 100 sacrifices. Now he has come with me to be forgiven by you. Therefore, excuse him. Text 3. O King, one who is advanced in intelligence and eager to perform welfare activities for others is considered best among human beings. An advanced human being is never malicious to others. Those with advanced intelligence are always conscious that this material body is different from the soul. If a personality like you, who are so much advanced because of executing the instructions of the previous acharyas, is carried away by the influence of my material energy, then all your advancement may be considered simply a waste of time. 5. Those who are in full knowledge of the bodily conception of life, who know that the body is composed of nescience, desires and activities resulting from illusion, do not become addicted to the body. 6. How can a highly learned person who has absolutely no affinity for the bodily conception of life be affected by the bodily conception in regard to house, children, wealth, and similar other bodily productions? 7. The individual soul is one, pure, non material, and self effulgent. He is the reservoir of all good qualities, and he is all pervading. He is without material covering, and he is the witness of all activities. He is completely distinguished from other living entities, and he is transcendental to all embodied souls. 8. Although within the material nature, one who is thus situated in full knowledge of the Paramatma, and Atma is never affected by the modes of material nature, for he is always situated in my transcendental loving service. 9. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, continued, My dear King Prithu, when one is situated in his occupational duty, engages in my loving service without motive for material gain, he gradually becomes very satisfied within. 10. When the heart is cleansed of all material contamination, the devotee's mind becomes broader and transparent, and he can see things equally. At that stage of life, there is peace, and one is situated equally with me as Satchitananda Vigraha. Prabhu, you would like to read the next 10 translations?
Okay. Sorry about that. All right, text 11. Anyone who knows that this material body, made of the five gross elements, the sense organs, the working senses, and the mind, is simply supervised by the fixed soul, is eligible to be liberated from material bondage. Text 12. Lord Vishnu told King Prithu, my dear king, the constant change of this material world is due to the interaction of the three modes of material nature, the five elements, the senses, the demigods who control the senses, as well as the mind, which is agitated by the spirit soul. All these taken together comprise the body. Since the spirit soul is completely different from this combination of gross and subtle material elements, my devotee who is connected with me in intense friendship and affection, being completely in knowledge, is never agitated by material happiness and distress. Text 13. My dear heroic king, please keep yourself always equiposed and treat people equally, whether they are greater than you, in the intermediate stage, or lower than you. Do not be disturbed by temporary distress or happiness. Fully control your mind and senses. In this transcendental position, try to execute your duty as king in whatever condition of life you may be posted by my arrangement. For your only duty here is to give protection to the citizens of your kingdom. Text 14. To give protection to the general masses of people who are citizens of the state is the prescribed occupational duty for a king. By acting in that way, the king in his next life shares 1/6 of the result of the pious activities of the citizens. But a king or executive head of state who simply collects taxes from the citizens but does not give them proper protection as human beings has the results of his own pious activities taken away by the citizens. In exchange for his not giving protection, he becomes liable to punishment for the impious activities of his subjects. Text 15. Lord Vishnu continued, my dear King Prithu, if you continue to protect the citizens according to the instructions of the learned Brahmin authorities, as they are received by the disciplic succession, by hearing, from master to disciple, and if you follow the religious principles laid down by them, without attachment to ideas manufactured by mental concoction, then every one of your citizens will be happy and will love you, and very soon you'll be able to see such already liberated personalities as the four Kumaras, Sanatan, Sananda, and Sanat Kumar. Text 16. My dear king, I am very captivated by your elevated qualities and excellent behavior, and thus I am very favorably inclined towards you. You may therefore ask from me any benediction you like. One who does not possess elevated qualities and behavior cannot possibly achieve my favor simply by a performance of sacrifices, severe austerities, or mystic yoga. But I always remain equipoised in the heart of one who is also equipoised in all circumstances. Text 17. The great sage Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, in this way Maharaj Prithu, the conqueror of the entire world, accepted the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead on his head. Text 18. As King Indra was standing by, he became ashamed of his own activities and fell down before King Prithu to touch his lotus feet. But Prithu Maharaj immediately embraced him in great ecstasy and gave up all envy against him for his for his having stolen the horse meant for the sacrifice. Text 19. King Prithu abundantly worshipped the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was so merciful to him. While worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord, Prithu Maharaj gradually increased his ecstasy in devotional service. Text 20. The Lord was just about to leave, but because he was so greatly inclined towards the behavior of King Prithu, he did not depart. Seeing the behavior of Maharaj Prithu with his lotus eyes, he was detained because he is always the well-wisher of his devotees. Text 21. The original king Maharaj Prithu, his eyes filled full of tears, and his voice faltering and choked up, could neither see the Lord very distinctly nor speak to address the Lord in any way. He simply embraced the Lord within his heart and remained standing in that way with folded hands. I guess I'll just keep reading to the end, like 31 verses, I think. 30, no, actually quite a lot, 38.
Sure, Prabhu.
22. The Supreme Personality of Godhead stood with his lotus feet almost touching the ground while he rested the front of his hand on his raised shoulder of on the raised shoulder of Garuda, the enemy of the snakes. Maharaj Prithu, wiping the tears from his eyes, tried to look upon the Lord, but it appeared that the king was not fully satisfied by looking at him. Thus the king offered the following prayers. Text 23. My dear Lord, you are the best of the demigods. Who can offer benedictions? Why, therefore, should any learned person ask you for benedictions meant for living entities bewildered by the modes of nature? Such benedictions are available automatically, even in the lives of living entities suffering in hellish conditions. My dear Lord, you can certainly bestow merging into your existence, but I do not wish to have such a benediction. Text 24. My dear Lord, I therefore do not wish to have the benediction of merging into your existence, a benediction in which there is no existence of the nectarian beverage of your lotus feet. I want the benediction of at least 1,000,000 ears, for thus I may be able to hear about the glories of your lotus feet from the mouths of your pure devotees. Text 25. My dear Lord, you are glorified by the selected verses uttered by great personalities. Such glorification of your lotus feet is just like saffron particles. When the transcendental vibration from the mouths of great devotees carries the aroma of the saffron dust of your lotus feet, the forgetful living entity gradually remembers his eternal relationship with you. Devotees thus gradually come to the right conclusion about the value of life. My dear Lord, I therefore do not need any other benediction but the opportunity to hear from the mouth of your pure devotee. Text 26. My dear, highly glorified Lord, if one, in the association of pure devotees, hears even once the glories of your activities, he does not, unless he is nothing but an animal, give up the association of devotees. For no intelligent person would be so careless as to leave their association. The perfection of chanting and hearing about your glories was accepted even by the goddess of fortune, who desired to hear of your unlimited activities and transcendental glories. Text 27. Now I wish to engage in the service of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and to serve just like the goddess of fortune, who carries a lotus flower in her hand, because his lordship, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the reservoir of all transcendental qualities. I am afraid that the goddess of fortune and I would quarrel because both of us would be attentively engaged in the same service. Text 28. My dear Lord of the universe, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is the mother of the universe, and yet I think that she may be angry with me because of my intruding upon her service and acting on that platform to which she is so much attached. Yet I am hopeful that even though there is some misunderstanding, you will be part of my you will take my part, for you are very much inclined to the poor, and you always magnify even insignificant service unto you. Therefore, even though she becomes angry, I think that there is no harm for you because you are so self-sufficient that you can do without her. Text 29. Great saintly persons who are always liberated take to your devotional service because only by devotional service can one be relieved from the illusions of material existence. O my Lord, there is no reason for the liberated souls to take shelter at your lotus feet, except that such souls are constantly thinking of your feet. Text 30. My dear Lord, what you have said to your unalloyed devotee is certainly very much bewildering. The allurements you offer in the Vedas are certainly not suitable for pure devotees. People in general, bound by the sweet words of the Vedas, engage themselves again and again in fruitive activities, enamored by the results of their actions. Text 31. My dear Lord, due to your illusory energy, all living beings in this material world have forgotten their real constitutional position, and out of ignorance they are always desirous of material happiness in the form of society, friendship, and love. Therefore, please do not ask me to take some material benefits from you, but as a father, not waiting for the son's demand, does everything for the benefit of the son. Please bestow upon me whatever you think best for me. Text 32. The great sage Maitreya continued by saying that the Lord, the seer of the universe, after hearing Prithu Maharaj's prayer, addressed the king. My dear king, may you always be blessed by engaging in my devotional service. Only by such purity of purpose as you yourself very intelligently express can one cross over the unsurmountable illusory energy of Maya. Text 33. My dear king, O protector of citizens, henceforth be very careful to execute my orders and not be misled by anything. Anyone who lives in that way, simply carrying out my orders faithfully, will always find good fortune all over the world. Text 34. The great sage Maitreya told Vidura, the Supreme Personality of Godhead amply appreciated the meaningful prayers of Maharaj Prithu. Thus, after being properly worshipped by the king, the Lord blessed him and decided to depart. Text 35 and 36. King Prithu worshipped the demigods, the great sages, the inhabitants of Prithu Loka, the inhabitants of Gandharva Loka, and those of Siddhaloka, Charana Loka, Panagala Loka, Kinara Loka, and Apsara Loka, the earthly planets and the planets of the birds. He also worshipped many other living entities who presented themselves in the sacrificial arena. With folded hands, he worshipped all these, as well as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the personal associates of the Lord, by offering sweet words as much wealth as possible. After this function, they all went back to their respective abodes, following in the footsteps of Lord Vishnu. Text 37. The infallible Supreme Personality of Godhead, having captured the minds of the king and the priests who were present, returned to his abode in the spiritual sky. Text 38. King Prithu then offered his respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Lord of all demigods. Although not an object of material vision, the Lord revealed himself to the sight of Maharaj Prithu. After offering obeisances to the Lord, the king returned to his home. Right, so there you go. Some really nice verses in there.
Yes, Prabhu.
So I guess the Mataji couldn't make it today, so will we just leave it and start tomorrow with the first verse?
Yes, Prabhu.
Because you have some rounds to chant, and she's
Yes,
not
Prabhu.
here. So.
We can, we can pause here and
Okay.
continue tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad
Jai.
Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare
Jai.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.